Hey, what's up everybody? TechChucker here, and today we are going to do a side-by-side comparison of the Mafex Into the Spider-Verse Miles Morales versus the Marvel Legends Into the Spider-Verse Miles Morales. Now there's plenty of full reviews of both of these figures out there. That's not what we're going to do. We are going to do a very quick comparison of the two. Maybe it'll help you if you're kind of wondering, do I get the Mafex and spend the money, or do I save the money and get the Marvel Legends? So let's just jump right on into it. Obviously, you can see the soft goods on the Mafex. The biggest issue that I have is the bunching. Medicom did a good job of trying to give us very thin material, but what I find is on the shoulders, it bunches up a lot. You don't have that issue with the molded rubberized plastic on the Marvel Legends, so you don't have to worry about spending all that extra time on trying to just get this stuff out of the way. Now, it is cool that his hood has a little wire in it, so you can use that to kind of press down and get that out of the way. But because of that thickness, as they started, building this up, that bunches and it starts looking a little dumb. You can't zip up the jacket, but I'm okay with that because otherwise you'd have this really clunky zipper piece, and I think not having that is probably really good. The difference of color, you've got a much darker gray there, much lighter gray. This belt is a little problematic because it doesn't have anything to connect it. You can try and get that into the belt loop, but that's really small, so good luck with that. Paint apps, obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious to some, but to me, it's obvious that the paint apps are going to be a little bit better on the Mafex. I just think that they did a cleaner job. You can see that the web is actually painted on the legs on this guy versus it's just sculpted on the Marvel Legends. So that's a bit of a bummer. And the shoes are painted a little bit better. These shoes aren't really painted amazingly, but there is more paint on them, but you could add some paint if you really needed to. The logos look decent. This is, it's a little bit lacking in paint, but this one isn't amazing on its own either. So paint-wise, I think it's fine either way. I'm not a huge fan of the Mafex skin tone. It has a little bit more of a gray tone. I don't remember from the movie if it's actually grayish like that. I kind of like this skin tone a little bit better though. It seems like all of them that I saw in store had this little tiny black line on his forehead. I don't know if there's just something in the factory that had an issue there, but overall paint sculpt is not too bad. If we zoom out and take a look at the overall size of these two, obviously the Marvel Legends is a little bit taller. Now, a 14-year-old kid, which in the movie I believe he's about 14 years old, they average anywhere between 5'4" to 6'4" or 5. So there's a huge range in that age because they're hitting puberty, they're having growth spurts and whatnot. But I don't recall that Miles was a particularly small kid in the movie. So let's measure him up. The Marvel Legends is coming in at roughly 5 inches, 5 3/4 inches. That would put him at about a 5'8" height. And I think that's pretty reasonable for a kid his age. Now the Mafex, that one is coming in at about 5 1/4. So that puts him at 5'4", 5'3". Scale-wise, it still works for a 1/12 scale, but I think he's just really, really small. Let's bring in Deadpool. He is a 6.5 inch figure, so that puts him at about 6'5". No, that would be 6'8", which technically is a little tall. I think that scales really well with the Marvel Legends. I don't think it scales that great with the Mafex. He seems a little too small, which is a little bothersome. And then if you were, say, to buy just the Mafex and then go with the Marvel Legends, Peter B. Parker, here he is with him. And I think this is too big. It's close and it'll work. It's passable. But if you put him next to the Marvel Legends one, I think that is a far better scale. In terms of height scale, I think the Marvel Legends ekes it out just by a little bit. Now, in terms of the size of the pieces, I think the Marvel Legends is way better. This guy is absolutely tiny. It is so small. Let's pull this jacket off because I want you just to see the sheer size of this guy. You are not likely to display this guy with the jacket off and just the shorts on. Not sure why you would, but that just looks terrible. He's so tiny in the abdomen, in the torso. It is so small. The arms are just minuscule. It always feels like I'm going to potentially break him. Now for accessories, this is where the biggest difference lies. The Marvel Legends, it comes with 3 accessories, not including the Build-A-Figure piece. And that is an unmasked head, which is pretty nice looking. They painted it well. It's pretty darn good. There's a double ball peg that is inside the head. The issue that I have is you only have one display choice. And that's with the jacket on, with the shorts on, and with the head. You know, it moves around really well. It's painted nice. So it's not really a big downside, but the fact that you don't have as many options is a bit of a downside to it. And then the other accessory that he comes with is an extra set of hands, a fist hand for each side and then a thwipping hand for each side. So it would be nice to have a wall crawler hand, but because he's in his jacket all the time, that's not really, you know, you're probably not going to be doing a lot of wall crawling pictures, but you know, maybe you could have. So that's a bummer. The Mafex side, and you can see he looks really dumb. He looks really dumb without that jacket on. If we pull the shoes off, he comes with a total of 4 sets of shoes. He comes with 2 sets of sneakers, 1 that are just regular, and then 1 that have magnets on the bottom, which is super cool, but we'll talk about a bit of a downside to that. And then he comes with 2 Spidey suit sets of hands, and those are really nice as well. One set has nothing on the bottoms, and then the other set are magnetized. And these, they're cool. They have a toe articulation in them, but again, the problem is they are so incredibly tiny. I am always worried that they're going to break, and because these are so tiny, they do kind of limit the posability a little because it's a little harder to get him in a standing position. He comes with a slew of hands, just a ton of hands. So if you are an accessory person, if you are an ACBA kind of person, the Mafex is probably the way you got to go with the articulation, which we haven't even talked about, and the accessories. This guy is, I mean, he comes with so much stuff, and one set of the hands, they're wall crawler hands, and they have little magnets in them. I know nobody wants to listen to some downer talking about all these negatives when it comes to a figure. This is a metal ruler. It is steel, it's not aluminum. These magnets are hardly strong enough to hold a figure, and it's a really small figure. So that is another issue, that it's like, okay, all these magnetized pieces would be awesome, except they're not really all that strong, and it's probably because they had to use such tiny magnets. I mean, just look at the tininess of those magnets. They're really not going to be able to hold much. Now, some people have had good success, which is great. I haven't been able to get him into a position where the magnetism truly works. Maybe you'll luck out. Maybe the magnetism isn't the, big thing that is driving you to buy this. Great. He comes with 4 total heads. He comes with a almost unmasked head. That one's pretty cool. It's painted very nicely. You can see the mask coming off on the top. He comes with a fully masked head with the eyes a little more squinty compared to this fully masked head, which is eyes wide open. That's kind of cool, gives you a little bit more option. And then there's a little extra neck piece that has the costume fully on, because with the unmasked head, part of the neck has his skin tone. The other part has no skin tone. It has the suit. So that's nice attention to detail. And then you get this mask, which is something that he can hold in his hand. It's not on his head at all. That's kind of a cool thing to have. And then we also get a bunch of different web shooter pieces. We got one more. So 5 webs. Some that have the little loop that go on the wrists. There is this one where he would be holding it. So that is great for different options. Obviously you get the shorts and the jacket, and then you also get the Mafex articulated stand. Now we haven't talked about articulation, but the idea here is obviously the Mafex way more articulated. If you really want to get into posing, this guy is your guy. But the Marvel Legends one really isn't that bad. It has pretty good range of motion with most everything. The head articulation, the arm articulation, it is pretty good. I mean, he can do almost a full split, so you're really not losing out on a lot of range of motion by skipping out on the Mafex. I have to say, I'm still torn as to whether or not I really like the purchase of this Mafex. It's just so tiny and it feels like I'm gonna break it, but I didn't pay full price for it. If you're paying full price for this guy at $100 to $110, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it when you have the $20 option of the Marvel Legends one. Now, if you are a absolute fan, love the Into the Spider-Verse movie, get them both like I did, because I am a huge fan of the movie. I wanted to have both. I'm going to get the Peter B. Parker Mafex. I'm going to pass on the Gwen Stacy, so I will probably not get that one. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of the format of the comparison, and then what do you think of either of these figures? Did you get one? Did you get both? Are you planning on getting either of them? I know this is a super late comparison, so you've probably already made those decisions, but if you are making the decision off of this video, let me know in the comments. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. All of that other crap, hit the bell notification and junk like that, and I will see you in the next video.